Israeli society, or the elite in the Israeli society, seem to be in trouble. Ronan Bar, the head of the Shin Bet, is resigning. And it seems the resignation is mostly because he failed to wake up Netanyahu when Hamas attacked the kibbutz in October in 2023. But it doesn't stop there. There's a range of crises and secrets and scandals and subterfuge, and at the centre of so much of it is a fellow called Yakov Perry, the former head of Shin Bet, one-time minister, serial fabricator of his own military past. He seems to me to be emblematic of the deeper rot within the Israeli state. His rise, his fall, his post-retirement revelations provide a case study not just in individual duplicity, but in the institutional breakdown of the various parts of Israeli society. And Bar is just one of the casualties in all this. It's not particularly Yakov Perry's fault. It's not Bar's fault. It's the fault of Israel and the Netanyahu administration. When a nation begins attacking its own organs of state, the problem is no longer external. The cancer runs from within. Yakov Perry led the Shin Bet, Israel's internal security agency, from 1988 to 1995. A period that included the Oslo Accords, the First Intifada, and seismic shifts in Israel's security architecture. He was for years considered the archetype of the suave, seasoned spy master, but beneath the mystique lay something quite banal, an ordinary life told by an insecure man. And he claimed to have served in the Israel Defense Forces, and in truth he'd been medically exempted because of a heart murmur. But rather than face the stigma of non-service, he concocted an imaginary military history and maintained it for over half a century. Even as he ran Israel's most secretive agency, he lied in interviews, on CVs and in campaign appearances, and no one checked. His career didn't end with intelligence. In 2013, Perry entered the Knesset with Yesh Atid, Yair Lapid's centrist movement, and became the Minister for Science and Technology. It was a classic pivot. Spy master turned lawmaker draped in a security halo. But then the cracks began to show. An investigative program revealed that Perry had not only lied about his military past, but may have leaked classified information, classified Shin Bet intelligence to Aryeh Deri, the notoriously slippery leader of the Shas party, during a corruption probe in the early 1990s. The polygraphs administered at the time suggested deception, and Perry's defence, a man under pressure, he claimed, cannot be expected to be as pure as snow. A poetic evasion, but not a very convincing one. And Perry's later years saw him locked into a very public struggle with Prime Minister Netanyahu. Though no longer in office, he remained a vocal commentator, one of the few former security chiefs willing to call out the Premier's overreach. The Shin Bet, once untouchable, became a pawn in Netanyahu's war of political survival, as we see today by the new resignation. After the catastrophic intelligence failure of October the 7th, in which Hamas militants massacred 1,100 Israelis, Netanyahu sought a scapegoat. That was Ronan Bar, the head of Shin Bet, who took institutional responsibility, but refused to resign until the hostages were recovered. Netanyahu tried to sack him anyway, and the Supreme Court blocked it, and what's followed has been a constitutional confrontation, affidavits, counterclaims, and an internal security report that accused Netanyahu of failing to wake up during the attack. Actually, it seems that it was Ronan Bar's job to wake him up. But in the background is Perry, that flawed relic of Shin Bet's golden age, and he trusted Bar. He did not, however, trust Netanyahu. Who would trust Netanyahu? Netanyahu is where all the problems lie. And as if this wasn't enough, the Shin Bet under Bar began probing allegations that Netanyahu's closest advisors were taking cash from Qatari sources, the same Qatari that houses Hamas leaders. The so-called Qatar Gate scandal involved accusations of foreign money laundering, media manipulation, and conflicts of interest. In this context, Netanyahu's attempts to purge the Shin Bet leadership looks less like policy and more like panic, an attempt to suppress the truth. and critics believe he was trying to hijack state institutions to protect himself from legal trial, from political defeat, from public accountability. And so, get back to Yakov Perry, the man who lied about his military service, possibly compromised investigations, but who still insists that his contributions justify his sins. And that mindset, ends over means, myth over truth, is something that has become disturbingly widespread in Israeli public life and in the army, the IDF attacks on the West Bank and on Gaza. What does it say when the former head of the Shin Bet cannot be trusted to tell the truth about his own biography? When the Prime Minister seeks to dismantle the agency to shield himself from scrutiny? When intelligence chiefs fight open battles with elected leaders? This is not a healthy democratic tension. This is institutional civil war. Yakov Perry was once the guardian of Israel's secrets, as is Ronan Bar. Now, their story is a cautionary tale, a parable of hubris, half-truths, and the long shadow, in the case of Perry, of a lie told too often. When a security service forgets who it serves, when a prime minister sees state agencies as personal tools, when former spy masters fabricate their own histories, we're no longer in the realm of democratic policies and politics. We're in a crisis. And Israel must decide now. Will it be a state governed by the rule of law and institutional integrity, or will it be one governed by personal loyalty, tyranny, political desperation, and myth, where anybody who is on the outside is ruled an enemy and anybody on the inside is ruled as suspect? Everybody is living on the edge. This isn't the way to govern a society. This is the way to hold on by your fingernails to something which is ultimately encaked, enmeshed, and mired in the filth of deceit.